Okay, so we will get started. I'm just very conscious of the time, and we have a very, very full day. As most of you know, my name is Jackie Ottman, and actually I'll begin by saying Ninsiga. And if in my community, if someone says Ninsiga, you would reply if your day is going well, or if you're doing well, you'd say Nimenoya, or you'd say Inge Nimenoya, which means I'm doing very well. So, and that's Nimenoya. So I'm going to say Aninziga to you, and you're going to say Nimenoya. Aninziga. Very good. Okay, we're going to start those language lessons every time you see me on stage. Ingechik and Mayan. So that means I'm very happy to be here. And Mizeak Mikok Pepa Motang Dizanakas. And so I've shared with you the name that was given to me as a baby. It means that I'm very honored with everyone's presence here. And as you know that as of October 1st, I became University of Saskatchewan's first Vice Provost of Indigenous Engagement, and one thing that I'd always like to honor and respect is all the advocacy that happened years before the realization of this particular office. And it is with privilege and the feeling of responsibility that I am in service to this particular position and university. So we're very honored today to have over 200 participants gather for this second annual Internal Reconciliation Forum. And so the idea or the reason that we gather is to respectfully and constructively engage in dialogue about the aspirations we have for this university, and also to share with each other the successes that we've experienced along the way. And so the gathering that we have, I'll explain later, it is highly engaging. So I'm excited about that. But before we begin, I would like to invite Elder Norm Fleury to begin our day with a blessing. For that blessing, and so at this point, I would like to invite our University of Saskatchewan President and Vice Chancellor Peter Stoichev to speak to some of the progress that the university has made in regards to these to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see so many people here today. I'd like to thank Elder Norm Fleury for your blessing and for your words. Thank you very much, sir, and for being at so many of these events that are so important to us, and your presence is really important to us. Jackie, thank you very much for the work that you are doing, have done, and will be doing. Chief Tammy Cook-Searson is here, will be speaking after me. Thank you very much for being here as well and for spending your valuable time with us. Eugene Archond, I know, is here. He's been here at the National Forum. I'll say a little bit about that in just a minute. He was here at last year's first Internal Reconciliation Forum. Thank you very much, Eugene, for all that you have done, been continued support, and given us a lot of guidance as we move forward in responding to the calls to action from the TRC report. Our Chancellor Roy Romano is here. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Our Board Chair Leah Henneque is here. I see Elder Louise Haff and wonderful Saskatchewan poet is here, and many other dignitaries Thank you all very much for being here, and everyone for spending your valuable time at this really important event. I'd like to thank the organizing committee for today's internal forum, including Jackie Ottman, of course, and Patty McDougall as well, and I know many others who have spent a lot of time on this. We have spoken a lot at this university collectively and individually and independently about indigenization and about the idea of closing the education gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. There are many figures that I could offer to you regarding that education gap, but suffice it to say on this occasion that it's real, it's significant, it's endemic, it's systemic, it's historical, and for that reason, the discussions that lead to actions at this university, at all universities, but at this university, at an educational institution, are particularly crucial to reconciliation in this country. We've used the phrase, if not us, who, at this university, the University of Saskatchewan, named after the province, in this province, where the Indigenous population, according to the Canadian census, is somewhere between 15% and 16%. It's more realistically closer to 20%. And we've used the phrase, if not now, when, in the wake of the TRC forum and its 94 calls to TRC report and the 94 calls to action that it contains, and so much else that is occurring at this point in the nation's history. We've spoken about wanting to create the most welcoming place we can with and for Indigenous students and their communities, and we have said, excuse me, collectively, that this will take a long time. That we're building for centuries, but at the same time, I feel it, you feel it, I've been told about it, people feel a sense of impatience. We have to have patience, but I think we have to honor the fact that we feel a sense of impatience as well. And with that impatience, I think it's wonderful that we are gathered here to ensure day after day, year after year, that we are moving forward in the right direction. It's common for people to ask us, what have you done? What have you accomplished over the last 3 years and more? The short answer to that is that much progress has been made by and with Indigenous peoples who are part of this community. We also realize that there's a strong need for us to speak more frequently, and I really share this view, about the progress in this important area, and we know how important this is so that people can not only be aware of the progress, but that they can participate in it and they can contribute to it. One of the commitments that I made shortly after we held a National Building Reconciliation Forum here in this room 3 years ago was that we would have an internal forum annually to keep us focused on this work. And the first such internal building reconciliation forum in 2017 was framed around sharing and showcasing the broad work of building reconciliation and indigenizing the university. The event was well attended. There were over 300 participants. Another 800 people at least watched it via live stream. And that annual Building Reconciliation Forum, we had the first one here, as I was mentioning, has been held annually after that. It moved to the University of Alberta, from there to the University of Manitoba last year. In 4 weeks or so, it's going to be at the University of Victoria, and then move to another location that will be announced at that forum, another location in the country after that. Universities Canada is overseeing this. The reason for that is to ensure that those building reconciliation forums at the highest levels involving students and staff, researchers, administrators, leaders of all kinds at all the 94 universities across the country are focused on this issue and will remain focused for many, many years. It was in this room at that forum 3 years ago that Senator Sinclair said education is the key to reconciliation. a phrase that and I know all of you have internalized usefully. I'm not able in these remarks to tell you everything that has happened since our first internal forum and since that National Building Reconciliation Forum of 3 years ago, but I do want to share some highlights. These do not tell the whole story, and I'm not about to suggest that numbers are the things we need to look at, but they can indicate for us kinds of progress that we can build more significantly in many other ways. In the last academic year, 2017-2018, we were encouraged to see the enrollment of Indigenous students climb to over 3,000 students. My understanding is that over the last 5 years, Indigenous student enrollment has climbed here in the high 20%, whereas the rest of the university student population has risen about 3%. We have over 200 Indigenous faculty and staff members. These are not good enough numbers. I'm not implying that they are. I'm just saying that some progress has been made. You will all know that almost 1 year ago, we welcomed Dr. Jackie Ottman into her leadership role as our Vice Provost Indigenous Engagement. She's the first one to occupy that position. We are delighted, I know you share that feeling with me, that she is here with us. It's a position and she's a person we view to be critical to helping us achieve our aspirations. We continue to focus on key partnerships with Indigenous leaders, including but not limited to relationships with the FSIN, the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, and the Saskatoon Tribal Council, and that is just the beginning. One of the significant recent developments for us is centered on the development of the university plan. Some of you may be aware that a group of Indigenous elders, traditional knowledge keepers, language keepers, Eugene was part of this, Norm was part of this, Louise was part of this, and many, many others who have worked with us on the plan recently gifted us with the title, Nakanatan Manasinawinik, Let Us Lead with Respect. This is the title of the University of Saskatchewan Strategic Framework that will take us forward over the next 7 years. There are 3 areas and pillars of the strategic framework, and each area includes an indigenization commitment. I'll just list them, and then I just want to say something briefly about them. One is to uplift indigenization, which involves expanding the understanding and practice of Indigenous ways of knowing and concepts of innovation. Another is experiencing reconciliation, nurturing the humility, ethical space, and conviction central to embedding the spirit and practice of reconciliation in all our engagement efforts. And another is embracing Manasitawiin, respecting one another, strengthening bonds of respect, trust, and shared benefit with Indigenous communities in Saskatchewan, across Canada, and globally. And we're aspiring to decolonization practices that lead us to relationships that support deeper forms of reconciliation. As you can hear, these are intended to be action-oriented, all of them. Aside from these features, though, that plan is so important because it emphasizes the need for every aspect of the university to move in this direction, not just some colleges, but all colleges. Not just some levels of the university, but all levels of the university, students, faculty, staff, researchers, administrators. Not just academic programming, but discovery as well. Not just in our internal engagements with each other, but in our external engagements as well. Connecting very appropriately with the university's strategic framework, this year's internal forum was given the title Mamawi Asodatan, Let Us Cross This Together. Shortly, you will hear more about where this title emerged, but at its core, it's about respectful relationships, understanding different worldviews, and developing allies amongst non-Indigenous members of the university community. So with that, thank you very much, Jackie. Thank you very much for attending this extremely important forum.
Thank you so much, President Peter Stoichev. At this point, I would like to welcome Chief Tammy Cook-Searson to the stage, and she's going to share with us just concepts and ideas and stories related to her experience at residential school, and also just the importance also of gatherings such as this. And so, as I mentioned, Chief Tammy is from Lac La Ronge Indian Band, and she's been chief since 2005. And before that was band counselor from 1997 to 2005. She's been awarded with both the Queen's Golden and Diamond Jubilee medals, the Saskatchewan Centennial Medal, the 2017 ABEX Medal, Community Leader of the Year, and has an honorary doctorate of law degree from the University of Regina. Please join me in welcoming Chief Tammy Cook-Searson.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Jackie, and thank you for inviting me to be here today. I was asked by Jackie and Patty to come and present today to the faculty, staff, and some of the students here, so I'm really honored to be here. I want to thank Elder Norman Fleury for the prayer and his words. They're very encouraging. And I want to thank President Peter Stoichev for his words. And I want to acknowledge Chancellor Romano that's here. And also all the faculty that's here, everyone that's here. My good friend Louise Elder, thank you very much for being here. And I want to acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory and the homelands of the Métis. And I did ask Jackie to cut me off when it's 15 minutes, because I only have 15 minutes. And it's that kind of morning. I forgot my speech at home, and I forgot my brush. But I'm really honored to be here, and I was asked to talk about reconciliation and what we can do together. So I'm the chief of La Ronge Band, and I've been chief there for 13 years now. And I also went to residential school when I was a little girl. So when I was 7 years old, I was sent there. But it was something that was already done before to my grandparents. My mom and dad's parents, and then my parents went. So it's just a natural thing just to send your kids, because the schools didn't close down, I think, till the late 1990s. And I'm fluent in Cree and I'm really proud of that. I'm glad that we were able to hold on to our language. I'm pretty good in the bush. I'm not as good as some people in the room here, but I do go hunting, and I do lots of life skills, and I can survive in the bush. My parents are very traditional. They still make moose hides. And then I was thinking, the university is really a place where we come learn, but it's also, it's a difficult place for people that are fluent in their language, because we're teaching in English, and we're fluent in Korean. I was thinking, I used to think that I couldn't learn because I really had a hard time with English reading and writing, but Cree, I could speak it, I could talk it, and then being in the bush, I could survive in the bush, I could do those things, and I was thinking, I wonder how many people in the room here today know how to make a moose hide, traditionally, and that's a skill. Like, my parents have that skill, and they pass that on, and it's something, if you had to go and be told you have to make a moose hide today, it takes a lot of hard work, just like a university degree. It's like you have to sit there, and it's the same thing, repetitive over and over. So it's that understanding that we need to have, and that we all have gifts, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today, because you're here because you want to learn, you want to talk about reconciliation, you want to come together. And the only things I can talk about would be some of my own personal experiences at residential school and the things that I experienced when I was there. My granddaughter is 7 years old, and I was thinking, is she ever tiny? And when I look at her and she's sleeping, and I think, I can't believe I was 7 years old and I was at a residential school and I was only 7, and I look at her and I think of myself there and thinking I didn't have my mom or dad to say goodnight. And then my hair was cut off, and I was made to feel like I was dirty or like just not good enough. And that's how we were treated all these years as First Nations people, and we're finally starting to call it what it is. We're finally starting to have more of a voice. And the things that we experienced, I experienced sexual abuse there, and I never talked about it until just a few years ago. Because I didn't want to, I was too ashamed. I thought it was my fault, but it wasn't. So those are the things that happened to us. I didn't even tell my parents, and then I didn't realize my parents also went through the same things at residential school. So it's good that we're starting to talk about these things and how we were treated and how we were able to be resilient and we're still strong. How was I able to speak Cree? How am I able to still be proud to be a Cree woman? And that we have to speak up and say, this is not right. Just like the case in North Battleford with the Boucher case, you know, the racism really came out, and it's still there. And it's just that understanding that we need to have to come together and to know that, you know, these are policies that were made by the governments, whether it's federal, provincial governments, that have made policies based on their own beliefs. And that's why it's important for us to be at the table, even to have Jackie here, you know, as the head of one of the program or the departments in the university. It's important to have all different perspectives and to be at the universities and to understand where us as First Nations people come from, and for us to understand where you're coming from. So that way we come together. I have, and it's good for us to do this today. I know it's hard, it's a hard topic. And I also want to acknowledge Eugene Arcand too. I have a lot of great respect for him. And he's done a lot of work. And, you know, nobody talked about these things until Phil Fontaine, who was the chief of AFN, when he disclosed that he was sexually abused. And then from there, then he was able to come up with the residential school agreement that was across Canada, and it was something that the government of the day said, yes, this is the right thing to do. And then that's when people started talking. But we still have a long way to go. I think we have a long way to go, but we've come, like we are making steps and we are having more conversations. And I want to thank the university for having this and doing the work that you're doing. And it's also important to have community-based university programs where you come to the North and then also base it on the uniqueness of the North and the First Nations perspective. And we had that with Nortip NORPAC. And it was something that the Northern Teacher Education Program. And we had that program where it was a unique board. It was governed by First Nations, Métis, and also non-First Nations people. And it was people from the North that governed that. And we had hundreds of teachers going out into the communities, and it was based on the Northern perspective. So things like that are really important to have that. Even the NEPS program, the nursing program that was based in Prince Albert, you know, those are important programs to have. But I just want to acknowledge the university for doing this step and the work that you're doing. And it's important for us to keep working on revitalizing the language, revitalizing the culture. I know that my parents, for sure, are more than willing to share their knowledge with people that are willing to learn. And it takes a lot of work. My mom's hands get all puffed up from making a moose hide. And what I find with that too, with them is, once they start something, they don't stop. They have to finish it. And I was looking at the geese flying south. It was pouring rain, and I thought, they don't care if it's raining. They have to go. They can't say, oh, I'll wait till the sun comes out, and then I'll keep going south. But they just go. It's like my parents, they'll if they have a moose hide, they have to flesh it. They'll finish it that day, even if it's 10 o'clock at night. My dad is over 70, and he's out there still. He'll finish his moose hide. Or if they kill a moose, they'll skin it, they'll bring it home, they'll make it. So all those things, like, we have to share that knowledge and the connection to the land. I've had my 2 daughters. My one daughter graduated from nursing here at the University of Saskatchewan, so thank you for that, and thank you for supporting her. And my other daughter is in her 3rd year of studying psychology here at the university, so she's on campus. And but I want to thank the university for the extra support that you give to the students, and just keep encouraging the students, because what I find with the students is they don't know how to ask for help, a lot of them, because they think they can do it alone, but you're a wealth of resource here too, and you can help them because you've been through it and you know how to do that. And I think that's important for us to, same with mental health. When people are going through struggling with mental health, we have a hard time asking and saying, I'm having a hard time, I can't do this. So it's just trying to encourage people to ask for help, whether it's students or people struggling with mental issues. But those are the only things that I wanted to talk about, was make sure that we have culture, language, and then the community-based programs and the work that you're doing here. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to come and speak to the university. I feel really honored to be standing up here and just to share a little bit about our own experience. And thank you.
That's such a beautiful and powerful message, and I think we'll have to just consider Chief Tammy Cook-Searson's words and encouragement at the same time. So today we have given, or again, we have the privilege of gathering to talk about reconciliation. And one of the things that I would encourage is for us to consider that perhaps reconciliation happened even before the TRC calls to action. And it is evident within creation, and how creation really seeks to balance itself. And so, you know, there is those processes that are all around us. A while back, while we were actually talking about the university plan, and I was meeting with some of the elders and traditional knowledge keepers and language teachers that were a part of that process, I had the privilege of talking with Randy Morin shortly after one of those sessions, and it was at Waniskewan. And he came to me and he handed me something, and it's actually in the back of your program. So you'll see an image of what he handed me, and it was a gift to the Internal Reconciliation Forum. I felt that this is where it belonged. And as you could see, and President Stoichev talked about it, it's Mamawi. It's not in front of me. Mamawi Asotitan. Mamawi Asotitan. Let's cross this together. And so that concept is really powerful for many, many reasons. And so at this point, I would like to invite Randy Morin to share with us his perspective on Mamawi Asotitan.
Thank you, Jackie. Pohama iski macihtayan nista kita tamskatna ogah kio netutimak. Tapu migis kau nots kisimanto imigo yak. Nanas kemau ogau mau askimina pokki go igamigo yak. Nanas kemau kihte egu tagaya cik. Kawita toski magikuta. Nanas kemau ogis knamag nagut kak snamagus kisik. Nanas kemau iguta negatoasek te pahamatuin aski 36 ego apitogos sanag minuta gawi getsigo maski and homeland of the Métis. So Randy Morin is Sigason. I come from Big River First Nation, And a lot of Tammy's talk really resonated with me because I too grew up on the land, you know. My parents taught me a lot. Very fortunate my parents spoke Cree to me. You know, my grandma, she's 106 years old, she's still alive, and she speaks only Cree, right? And she taught us the language, she passed it down, and I owe her my life, you know, many times over. I'm still here because of her, so I visit her as much as I can. But my parents instilled in me a lot of the hard work, the values that Tammy talked about, and I offer survival skills training, right? And where I teach people how to hunt, how to snare, how to trap, how to track animals, how to call animals, how to make a fire, how to make a shelter, how to make weapons. You know, I offer that to communities, and I owe it all to my dad, right? He's also a hide maker. They make star blankets. Like they're really hardworking, right? They're always working. They're always on the road traveling, you know. So I got a lot of work ethic because of my parents. And I'm honored to be here. I'm honored that Jackie invited me here to talk about this word, you know. But before I talk about this word, I'll tell you a quick little story. Like Tammy alluded to geese, right? And I have this amazing father-in-law, right? He's an amazing guy, and I'm so blessed with my father-in-law. His name is Harvey Knight. You know, I'm so proud of that man. You know, he's a good guy, and I love him, right? And anyway, I asked him one day, "Hey Harvey, you see these geese flying? Yeah. How come they're longer on one side? You know?" He's like, "I'll come back to you on that. I'm gonna go to ceremony and I'll come back and I'll give you an answer." Anyway, come back a few days later. "Randy, I've thought about what you asked me, and I come up with a reason why geese are longer on one side. It's because there's more geese on that side." Profound wisdom there. Oh, wow, mind blown. Yeah, so. But you know, like I said, the language is a living spirit for us, Indigenous. You know, it's alive. Every word is important. That's why we don't capitalize in Cree. You know, one word is not more important than the other word. That's why there's no capitalization in Cree, and it really irks a lot of people. How come you guys don't have grammar and all? Because every word is a living spirit, right? And sometimes I think the ancestors, they just kind of nudge me a lot, right? That's why I'm still here alive today, is because through their nudging, making the right decisions in my life, I'm here, right? And some of the best ideas, you know, come when you're taking a shower, right? You know? Like, I've started a company, TP Harmony, because of having a shower, right? We make teepees, all shapes and sizes. That's my little plug, eh? You know. But anyway, just a lot of ideas come. Anyway, and I was thinking about reconciliation, and you know. By the way, who watched the first Contact? You can watch it now live on APTN website. You don't have to wait for the TV schedule. You can just watch it on your home computer. You know, and they talk a lot about reconciliation, right? And it's amazing how mainstream Canadians still don't know anything about Indigenous people. It blows my mind. How could they still not know anything, right? This day and age, it's 2018, right? Like TRC came out, you know? Like there's so much stuff coming out in the media, right? People still don't know. So I call that willful ignorance. They choose to be ignorant, right? Cognitive dissonance, right? They get all this information, but they still hold on, right? But anyway, I was thinking about reconciliation, and I was taking a shower, and I know this university plan was going to happen at university, and somehow, some way, this word popped into my head. I was like, wow, that is a powerful word. Mamawe asuhtitan. And that just kind of rung in my head, and I was like, oh, man, I was showering, you know. I thought I'd forget about it, but it just kind of stuck with me. I was like, wow, am I supposed to do something with this word? I didn't know what to do with it, right? So I just kind of forgot about it. And then at the at the Wanaskewin, we were having these circles, and a lot of language keepers were there. And that word came out again. I was like, okay, is this the word trying to tell me to do something with it? So I didn't know what to do with it. And I saw Jackie. I was like, hey, Jackie, I wanna give you something. And I wrote down this word. I said, I think I'm supposed to give you this word, like see if you could do something with it on the university level, with your position, with your power, right, to make it happen. And, so she took a picture of it, and I forgot all about it. And then she told me, like, we're actually going to use that word, and I want you to work with this guy, John. So me and John worked on this design together. Is John here? Oh, hey, there's John over there. I think he did such an amazing job. Like, let's give John a hand of applause. Like, my goodness. So there's a lot of symbolism in here. Like there's the wampum, the two nations on a river. But anyway, so this word, I believe, came from the ancestors to be used, right? And it's an act of reconciliation, because we need more Indigenous words out there, visible in society, and we need to be able to pronounce them properly, right? Like, we gotta practice pronouncing them properly, right? Because that's an old language that has been here for a long time in these Indigenous lands, Like, Doug Cuthand, he's a historian. Like, he wrote about a time before Saskatoon was even a colony, when teepees, as far as the eye could see, ceremonies were happening all around the city, Sundances were happening around the city. So this is where the language originates. We all need to speak it. We all can't be inconvenienced by it. Like, it's just an act of reconciliation. You're doing your part. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's how I came up with that word. It came to me in a moment of inspiration, and I'm really happy that we have Jackie at this university. I'm really proud of her. I'm really proud of all the our elders. I'm just proud of where the direction this university is going. It's my second year here, and I'm really proud to be here. I work at the Department of Indigenous Studies. I'm a Cree language instructor. So I plan on being here a long time. Hopefully I am, But with that, I thank you all for listening to me. Hi, kinanas kum tinawaw.
Okay, I love that story. I really do. So, Mamawi Asotitan. Let's work on that one together. Mamawi Asotitan. Let's cross this together. Mamawi Asotitan. There you go. Okay. And again, thank you for the gift, Randy Morin, and we have had just some wonderful reminders this morning and new teachings at the same time. So what we're going to do today is something that is in response to the comments that were made last year in terms of how people really wanted to have a process that was more engaged. And so with the way that the day is set up, it's actually layers upon layers upon layers of Indigenous ways of doing and being. And so first of all, there's going to be 4 sessions. And so those are our conversation circles. And you're going to move from session to session in clockwise motion. And so you will have someone who will lead you from those particular sessions to the next one. And the other thing is that idea of repetition. So repetition is actually really on the part of the thought leaders, the lead facilitators, in terms of just how they're going to be working through the day and presenting. The other idea is the concept of ethical spaces. Cree scholar Willie Ermine talks about ethical spaces, and so basically that's when it's really highlighting diversity and bringing together people from different backgrounds, perhaps competing backgrounds, different worldviews, and having those people come together and focus on particular topics of dialogue or engagement. So you're coming together for engagement purposes. And so the topics does have, one of them is allyship, another one focuses on indigenous methodologies, another one focuses on student experiences, and oh gosh, I'm missing one here, sorry about this. Okay, so anti-racist, anti-oppression education is the fourth circle. And so, and the other idea is what Dwayne Donald, another Cree scholar, writes about ethical spaces, or ethical relationality. So the idea of coming together within these spaces is to develop relationality, ethical relationality. So basically you're bringing indigenous knowledges and thoughts and ideas and traditions and cultures to the forefront when we're engaged in these kinds of conversations. So those are the philosophical underpinnings for the day. Ethical spaces for the purpose of ethical relationality, and you're moving in clockwise directions, and for the thought leaders, there is a repetition, and look for those patterns throughout the day. What are you hearing? So we're encouraging active listening, constructive and respectful dialogue throughout the day. And the last thing I'd like to mention is you'll be given a strand. Because another thing that we do within a lot of our people groups is gifting, and that's a verb. Because we are verb driven. And so throughout the day, within each circle, if you could just work on adding beads to the strand for the idea at the end of giving it to someone and perhaps sharing the story of the day. So you're creating this beaded bracelet with the idea of someone in mind. Right, and so for the purpose of giving the bracelet away at the end, sometime in the future. So with that, we also have witnesses, and back there is Eugene Arkand, our residential school survivor, and it's very important, again, when we talk about truth and reconciliation, to always remember that that the calls to action emerged from survivor stories, and really we always have to honor our residential school survivors when we talk about reconciliation. So where are the roots? And so Elder Eugene Arkand and two student witnesses will be moving from circle to circle and just more fluid than structured and listening to the conversations. And at the end of the day, they will highlight for us some of the things that they heard. And so at the four corners, if you look at the back of your name tag, you will see the group that you're on, that you will be in. And at the four corners of the room here, we have guide leaders. And so if you could put up, where are they? So we have group 4 over here with Stryker. And group 3 is right here in this corner, and group one is here, and group 2 is in the back. So at this point, if you could work your way to your group, and your group leader will lead you to your first conversation circle. Wishing you a great day. Thank you. Gitche magach.